Welcome to Xara template tutorial lesson number 0. In this Xara Web Designer 7 Premium tutorial, we'll be going over how to create a new document, and also we'll be going over how to save your documents. And by default, when you open the program, you should see a blank space if you haven't started a new document or if you don't know how to. So this is what you'll see when you first open the program, assuming that you've closed all the documents out from the previous time that you opened the program. But if you just installed it, this is how it should look. Blank space, nothing in the document. So let's go ahead and show you how to create a new document. What you're going to do is go to your upper left hand corner. You'll see an option for file. You're going to left click on that, and then it'll bring up another menu. You'll have the option to go to something called new, and when you place your cursor over that, it'll reveal another menu that gives you a few options, and depending on what order you have yours in, it may be different in terms of the order of the new pages you can start. But let's go ahead and cover the different options. The one that I have that starts out first is 760 pix web page, and what the pix stands for is pixels. It's basically just a unit of measurement for the width of the page. It's just like if you had a ruler, it has centimeters, inches, millimeters. That's what that stands for, the pix. It's not standing for those unit of measurements. It's standing for, pixels, which is a unit or form of measurement for screens. So it'd be 760 pixels wide. The next option I have is 640 pixels wide. And then after that, you've got two options for 955 pixels. One is for a web page and one is for presentations. And we haven't gotten to presentations, so we won't be covering that. And then the next option I have is 1200 pixels, which is the custom made page width that I made, and I named it 1200 pix. The other two options you have is animation or blank photo. Those are other new documents that you can start. And again, we won't be covering those either because that's something that we haven't really covered yet. For your page width, the reason that they have these standards here is because some people have different screen sizes. So, if you got a page that is 2000 pixels wide, the average person's not going to be able to see all your content without having to scroll left or right when they're surfing your website, which could become very annoying and a horrible user experience if you have to scroll left and right and then up and down to read certain parts of a web page. And I can tell you from experience, I have been to websites like that, and it's definitely not fun experiencing their website and navigating through it, and that can affect your company. If you're doing this for a company, definitely you want to make sure that you're not exceeding 955 pixels, and at maximum, and I kind of gave myself just like the very maximum I think you should have, and that's 1200 pixels. So you can choose which option you want. If you want to make a 1200 pixel page, I'll go over that in another tutorial later. But as in general, as of right now, what you've learned, you can create a 955 pixel web page as the widest until you learn how to adjust the page size. But definitely do not exceed 1200 pixels, and if you want to be safe, don't exceed 955 pixels wide page. So I'm gonna go ahead and quit talking now and get to opening one of these so you can see what happens. Let's choose the 640 pixel web page option. Left click that, and you'll see that it's really small page. It's not that wide. And if you look at it, it kind of almost is long all the way up to this icon. It lines up with this little tag icon. That's about how wide it is. Just kind of giving you a reference point so you can see that when we open the other pages that it'll get wider. So, and you'll notice that when we open this page, it has the name Untitled 18 by default. When you open a new document, it gives it a generic kind of name and a number representing the number of documents you've opened. Today I've opened a total of 17, not including this one. When I opened this one, it made it the 18th document. So Untitled 18 just means that this is the 18th document that I've opened today. Now, right to the right of that, you'll see a X button, and that's to close the current document. So let's go ahead and close that. Then go to File, New, again, And this time let's go to 760 pixels and left click that. And you'll notice that it's a much wider page. You see where the tag looking icon is at, and in reference to that, the page has grown to be wider. Let's go ahead and close this document by left clicking the X again. Go to File, New, and you'll see the 955 pixel web page. Just left click that, and make sure you select the web page because there's a presentation option too. You don't want to select that. Select the web page option for 955, and you'll see that it's even grown larger. And this is the one that I was saying is like the maximum you should go if you want to be super safe, but I go a little bit further by increasing it about 200 extra pixels. But this is the safest size you can go with if you want to be super careful and cater to everybody. So let's go ahead and close this document, and let's go to File, New. Just to show you one more time, this is where you would go to start a new page. Let's do a 700 pixel web page, 760 pixel web page by left clicking it. And let's go ahead and let's see, I'm gonna just go to anything in here. Let's just go to the shape, this little circle shape in the toolbar, and you can choose whatever. If it's not a circle there, whatever shape you see, just select the shape and then left click and drag on a shape on the screen. So left click your mouse and hold it down and drag with your mouse. So left click and drag with your mouse, and hold that left click mouse button down as you drag, and just create a shape on the page. And let's go ahead and go to File and then Save As. So let me show you that again. You'll go to File, Save As, and what that is going to do, it's going to save this document with a new name other than what we've given it, as a newly opened document. So go to Save As, and then it'll bring a prompt up, and in that prompt you'll see the option that says Save In, and this is giving you the location of where you're going to save your document. And right now I have mine set to desktop. Yours may be set to something different, but you can click that drop down arrow next to the Save In, and you'll see that you have a few different options, and you can pick where you want to save it. In this case, I want to save it to the desktop, so I'm going to save it to the desktop. So after you've chosen where you want to save it, let's go to the next option. You'll see that it says File Name, and it has the Untitled 21, which is what the generic title that Xara gave it when we opened the new document. And you can name this, maybe you want to call it version 1. So type in version 1. I type version_01, and then hit the save key to the right of that, and you'll see that here. Left click that button, and now it's saved as version 1. And if you go to File, Open, and then you go to your look in, it's going to change this to look in now because we're looking for a document, and you'll see an indicator up here that says open, and because we're trying to open a document. If you go to look in, it's still set to the previous location we were at, which is desktop. So we'll go down to the scroll bar if you can't see it. In my case, I can't see the document that I saved because it's kind of to the right, so you'll use the scroll bar to scroll over and look for it. And we called it version 1, so let's look for the V's. I think this is in alphabetical order. Yes. So you'll find a document. In this case, here's version 1. And if we left click on it once, you'll see that we have a square here. And you'll see in the document we have 1 square. So we just saved that document. So let's go ahead and hit cancel because we don't need to open it again. It's already open. So left click on the cancel key, and then let's say that you want to create a copy with the new updates and changes that you made to the document. You don't want to save over this current document. We could do that. We can make another change in here and save it over this document, but let's say we want to make a new copy because in case my computer crashes or I get a virus, I want to have this version 1 saved so I can revert back to it. So let's go ahead and draw another square by left clicking, holding down the left click mouse button and dragging. So hold down left click mouse button and drag in any direction and create another shape. And then go to File, Save As, and then this time let's name it version 2 and as the file name, and it's going to save it to the desktop because we have it set to save in desktop. So click on the save button, and now if you go to File, Open, and then like we did before, move the scroll bar over until we find version 2 that we saved. And you'll see if you left click on version 2, it now shows 2 squares. And if we left click on version 1 once, you see 1 square. And so the importance of this is that, let's say that in version 1 it took you 3 hours to create that square, which is unrealistic. It shouldn't take you that long to make a square. But let's say that you were working on a document that was really complex and it took you a few hours, and then you wanted to save that as version 1, and then by version 2 you worked on it a few more hours, and then let's say you create another document called version 3 and you work on it for a few hours. Basically the concept is, if anything happens, let's say you're on version number 50 and your computer crashes, but you only save 1 document and that document goes horribly wrong. If you only save 1 document and that document gets ruined, you have no backup copies. By saving as, you can create multiple revisions of the document, and then let's say you are at number 50 and number 50 goes haywire. Instead of you having to start from version 1, you can start from version 49 instead of having to start all over. So that's the importance of using the Save As option. It lets you save different copies of that same file with the updated changes by giving it a new name. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. So now we're in version 2, and you'll see that that's also identified in this tab. It'll say version 2, and also at the top of your program it'll say version 2 to signify what version of the document you're in. Now let's say that you want to overwrite version 2. Maybe you've made some changes today to it. Let's draw another square, and you draw a few more squares in the document, and that's because you want to make a few tweaks to it. Then you can hit the icon up here that looks kind of like a floppy disk back in the day. You'll see the word save. You'll left click on that, and what that does is it overwrites version 2. Instead of showing just those 2 squares in the document that you see here that we had before, it'll show everything. It'll show these 2 at the top and the 3 at the bottom because we added 3 new squares. If you go to File, Open, and then you go to version 2, you'll see that it now reflects all the changes that we made. So you don't have to use the Save As option to make a new save for your revision. You don't have to use that Save As option all the time. If you've only been working on a document for 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you may want to just use the little floppy disk that I showed you up in the program, because it overwrites that version. The only time I recommend using the Save As option is when you've worked on a document about 30 minutes or so, and that's when I would make a new save to save a new revision in case your computer crashes or you get a virus or something like that. So let's go ahead and hit cancel, and you'll notice now that the floppy icon up here for saving is blank. That's because we haven't made any new changes in this document. Now, but if I left click on one of these squares and left click and hold and drag, you'll see, and let go, once you do that, you'll see that it becomes enabled again because we made a change in this version 2 of our document. So now we can overwrite it again. So anytime you make a change in the current document, you'll see that this icon becomes visible, and you can click it and it'll save those new changes, and now it has overwritten this document. So instead of the square being over closer to the left, it's now further over to the right in the document, and it saves those changes. And let's say that you've worked on this document for about 30 minutes, and now you want to save a new revision, or you want to save a new copy so that you can, if anything happens, you can always revert back to version 2. You just go to File, Save As, and we'll call this document version 3, and we'll hit Save. And now if you make any changes to this document, it will not affect version 2 because you've now saved it as version 3. So let's say we're working on version 3 and the program crashes and this version 3 gets corrupted. You can always revert back to version 2. So that's the benefit of using the Save As option. But a lot of times you probably will use the Save option, which is the floppy disk here, and that'll save it to overwrite the changes that you make in the current document that you have open. And there's more than one way to do this. Let's say that you make a change in this document, you left click one of these squares to select it, then you left click and hold and drag it somewhere. You don't have to use this icon. You can go to File and go to Save, and this save is the one with saving to overwrite your existing document. So if you left click that, it's the equivalent of hitting the floppy disk icon that you seen up here earlier, and that's just overwriting your existing document that you have open, which is version 3. And if you wanted to save a new copy, you can again go to File, Save As, and it'll save a new copy of the program of this document with a new name. We won't go over the Save All option or the Save Template. That's something that we'll cover in a different tutorial. So now you know how to save your document, and you know how to open a new document within Xara Web Designer. You kind of know some of the standards for the page width. Now there's one other thing I do want to mention if I haven't already. The page height of your website does not matter, and the reason that doesn't matter really is because you can always scroll up or down. It doesn't matter what screen size a person has for the height of your page. So you can make the page as tall as you want. We won't cover how to resize the page in this tutorial. We'll say that for another one, but always remember that the page height doesn't really matter. I mean, to an extent. I mean, if you've got, a 30-page long website, people are probably going to be annoyed to have to scroll through all that. But in general, the page height doesn't matter, because no matter what the screen width is, you can always scroll continuously down or up using any computer that you have. So the only thing that really matters is the page width, and you don't want to exceed 955 pixels if you want to be in the safest side. But if you feel more comfortable, you can do a 1200 pixel wide web page. I hope this tutorial helped you in getting started with creating new pages and saving pages within Xara Web Designer. If you have any questions, just send us a message on YouTube. And also don't forget to subscribe to our videos and give us a thumbs up if this tutorial was helpful to you. And most likely it's not if you're already familiar how to open and save and close documents within other software, because it's pretty much the same across the board. Any program you use will have these same options in general to save and open and close documents. Again, thanks for viewing our video, and look forward to seeing other additional videos to help you use Xara Web Designer 7 Premium.